They wrote a
Hey,
song for you?
hey, everybody. Yeah, this amazing gentleman. Welcome to Impossible Live. Welcome back if you're joining us again. And I'm delighted Diane is here. I was just mentioning amazing Mike LeBlanc wrote a song for Be Visible Solutions. So for those of you who join us and you see Be Visible with Mel, that will always be here. It's the reminder for the introvert and the girl from the Bronx to step out of the introvert core. As Diane and I would say in the mental fitness community, it's the reminder to show up. And it was my pandemic lesson from the universe. So, warm welcome as you're joining us, and a warm welcome back to Diane.
Thank you, Mel. It's good to be here.
Ah, as you're joining us today, this glass is for you, no matter what stage you're at. This, whatever stage you're at, as I was just talking with Diane about geomagnetic storms and occasionally losing power in the high winds, and everybody's dealing with some stuff. And amazing Diane helped come up with today's title. And oh, I want to thank her. And you'll notice Diane is back to talk about trust. As part of this journey and as part of our Impossible Live journey, I had the pleasure of meeting amazing Diane in, for those of you who have not heard me talk about it, in the mental fitness community. And the mental fitness community, if you are following us on LinkedIn, you'll notice I use the hashtag mental fitness for life a lot. And Diane and I met in a community that amazing Angie Alexander introduced me to. Really, I was laughing 4 years ago. She shared a saboteur's assessment. And some of us have talked about that in our conversation about narratives and the stuff that's going on in our heads, the things that sometimes are holding us back. People like to say imposter syndrome. And for me, the helpful part of meeting amazing Diane in Positive Intelligence's community of practice was, and it aligns with today's title, so I'll kind of combine the two. But Diane and I met in a community of practice where coaches are supporting other coaches. And we were in a community of practice around inclusion and this cool PQ journey, which will be interesting to celebrate 4 years next year. But in the process, I met Diane and she had this incredible energy on Zoom from the first day I popped into the community of practice. And I had never been to the community of practice before. And here's Diane with a smile on the screen. For all of you who know, as we talk about how we meet people, how we connect, how we're inspired to build relationships, the mental fitness journey has been really helpful around performance, wellness, and relationships. And you know, the relationships were a core for me. And now, woo, I'm leaning more heavily into the performance and wellness. But in the process, here's this beautiful, smiling woman. And what I smiled at energy wise was Diane was pretty quiet. It was my first time, reminded me of as we approach new situations and new rooms and new spaces. It was a day that really aligns with today's title. I'm going to tell you more about amazing Diane, but I want to give her a chance as I'm leaning in to welcome some more of you in chat and checking on the tech. And what you're going to laugh is Mike LeBlanc, who I just mentioned. Woo! Our Be Visible Solution song is coming. But we really need to respond to these amazing, beautiful, brilliant people. If you're on LinkedIn, check out Diane Chang. Her information will appear. If you're on Meta, look up her newsletter. Mike has an amazing song channel, and Mike's going to join us next month with a song he shared called In the Stillness. Thank you for your warm words, Mike, to light us up. And now some gems from Diane, so you have a little bit of a sense of who beautiful Diane Chang is. Warm welcome. back.
Thanks, Mel. So good to be back. And thank you for that nice, warm welcome. It was such a pleasure meeting you too in the PQDEIB community of practice. It was just so energetic for us all to be there together. Yeah, so just, I guess, just briefly, I'm Diane Chang. I'm an executive and leadership development coach. I love all things coaching, I love all things mental fitness. And most recently, I have started to do a coaching certification on burnout coaching. And so I don't know if Mel's disappeared because she said she might drop. I know that she's dropped. I don't know, or maybe I'm just, maybe my image is just appearing. I'm not sure. Oh, there you are. Okay. Hi, Mel. I wasn't sure if when I just saw my face, whether you had dropped because of technical issues.
I was playing with tech in the back end as the high winds went, and I could see on my end my camera had gone out for a second. So as Diane will say, I did warn her. We have high winds and these geomagnetic storms, and I'm very close to West Point, so the internet can be challenging. But as Diane's introducing herself and I'm playing with formats as we're making sure everything works, I'd like to welcome Mike, Curtis Brooks, and welcome back the amazing Cheryl Moses. So, Diane, this course sounds really cool. And I know in the process of your course, it kind of led into part of what's happening with our title and part of as what I was saying. I always talk about returns on energies and engagement. And I really appreciate our trust conversations, our leadership frames. But Diane, while I'm thinking of it, what is the name of your amazing newsletter?
Oh, it's called Cool, Calm, and Respected. And it's on the Beehive channel, BEEHIIV. So if you look up dianechangcoaching.com/beehive, that's where you can find it.
That is fantastic. And I want to thank Diane because I'm dreaming of finally releasing a newsletter. And so I want to thank Diane, not just for her energy inspiration, because as the as the tech glitches were playing around behind the scenes, and Cheryl Moses is here to remind me, and I really appreciate her that the tech glitches are an example of resilience. Somebody's trying to teach us our grit. Um, Diane, the energy check and body signals, and Diane and I are, you'll notice, Diane is a returning guest, and I'm inviting her already to join us again in 2026 as part of an ongoing series of our trust and our leadership conversations. And Diane and I were talking about energy and body signals. Where do you want to start today, Diane, as we're starting to frame the discussion for our listeners who may be just popping in for the first time? And I mentioned mental fitness, and
Mhm.
um, where should we start? Help us stay organized because you're amazing at this. Is one of the things I love about this brilliant woman. Not only did she have incredible energy the day I met her, and I really appreciate it. Her energy radiated, and that's what encourages. I jokingly talk, and Mike said it about smiles across the miles. But what can we do as a frame today, Diane, to help our guests? Hey, Lisa, welcome. How do we help them keep it eye level so it doesn't feel like, here's another road runner kind of high energy thing, and we help them always keep it eye level from a trust lens. Where do you want to start, and where
Yeah.
should we go today?
Sure, sure. So I thought where we could start is just reminding ourselves that, when we think about trust and how it intersects with trusting data and trusting what our body is telling us. And so part of the burnout coaching journey that I'm on is talking about the fact that we need to listen to what our minds and bodies are telling us at any one point in time, because those are the signals that we can get to indicate whether we are reaching burnout or have already reached burnout. And so some of us actually either don't listen to those signals or we ignore those signals. And there's actually three phases of burnout as I'm learning. The one is the alarm phase, right? Just like, oh, something's going on. And I'll talk a little bit about what the alarm phase is, and I can describe what my alarm phase was and how I didn't learn to trust my body in that respect. So there's the alarm phase. And then when we ignore the alarm phase and we get into the adaptation phase, and we get into chronic adaptation. And then we get into chronic adaptation, which already leads to exhaustion. So those are the three phases of burnout. And so from an alarm phase perspective, my personal alarms with regards to burnout was noticing that when someone asked me a question, before I could even answer them back, I actually had to close my eyes and think. And it was happening more and more often. So that's an alarm signal that my mind is just tired. My mind, there's something going on that doesn't allow me to just process a question and just answer it directly. Another alarm signal that I had is I had heart palpitations. I had panic attacks sometimes. And so all of these signs were things that, were telling me that I was burning out. Problem is that my coping mechanism was to actually work harder, just do more, because you got to get through the work, right? So I went into the adaptation phase. And in that adaptation phase, I took on more work because as a coping strategy, do more so you can get through all of the stuff, not realizing that mountain just keeps growing, it just keeps piling up, it never ends, right? So you just keep on going towards it. Another adaptation phase that people do is we binge eat, we binge watch, we go retail therapy. There's all kinds of things that we adapt to. We drink more caffeine, right? And we just keep our bodies going, and we just ignore those signals. And then we get into exhaustion. So what we actually need to do is to learn to listen to our body and trust what our body is telling us, and ask it, what is it telling us in that moment? And sometimes you are feeling, maybe your heart's beating faster, or for me, when I'm tense, I get tension in my jaw. It's like, this is what's happening. So just understanding that, my body's telling me that I need to relax, and then ask myself, what is it that's actually having me feel so tense? Right? How real are the stresses or pressures? Are they imagined? What can I do to alleviate them? And so part of it is just the physical signs as well that you want to listen to. And then you also want to listen to the mental and emotional signs. So if I'm starting to get more short with somebody, right, I'm something's going on. If I feel like I'm just always exhausted, just seeing what that level of energy is sometimes. We need to watch it, otherwise we go into deficit mode. And I'll talk a little bit about, instead of going into deficit mode, how do we go into growing our energy mode? When we get into deficit mode, we absolutely burn out. And it's so unnecessary for us to burn out. And part of it is also because we tell ourselves that to be successful, to be accepted, to be we just got to keep going, right? So what are the messages that we're telling ourselves? And are we listening to those messages? And then trusting what those messages are telling us as well. So I'll stop there for a minute and just see if this is resonating with you, Mal, before I go into the next part of this, and see if there's any questions or comments.
So all of the my discussions with friends from an inclusive perspective, I probably looked for a hot second, like Diane was sending me into a praise mode. And part of it is the joke, Diane. And I've had these conversations with Cheryl for years, and I really appreciate her. And our, returning Impossible Live guests is that whenever we come up with these Impossible Live session titles, the universe keeps sending more clarity content. And I love it because I think the clarity content that it's been sending as Diane and I worked on this session title was the reminder that with all the geomagnetic signals, with all and I jokingly said this earlier, and to a team member as well as to amazing Diane, the alarm phase of what's happening in the complexity of what I've always called our fragile world. And one of my amazing team members, Carla, we are always talking about the ongoing conversations we have in Impossible Live through the lens of gratitude, grief, and growth. And but what Diane's reminding me of is the alarm phase. I had to be reminded this fall, thankfully, thanks to a good coach and another, Carol Stokes, who is also in the mental fitness community. And Carol's specialties are she's a lawyer, but she's also a lawyer who helps caregivers in our journey. Our energy checks for me, I had to be reminded, and Carol gently did it one day as I was about to do some caregiving for my mom, 18-day period. And like a couple of days after, tractor trailer jackknifed in front of our SUV. And I'm grateful of how it's through the lens of, and this is one of the joys for me of mental fitness, of positive intelligence, of emotional intelligence. We're all going through something. The alarm sometimes can be that teapot that's sitting on the stove that just, or the microwave that keeps dinging to remind you that something went off, or the refrigerator door that is still open. And that, I think, as Diane said, I think that alarm phase part has been really resounding while working with clients, while trying to support family, while trying to just to live. And here I am, a coach, and in positive intelligence, we're always talking about mental fitness reps, and Diane has the most amazing set of them. I fell in love with Diane. She took us through a journey about an orange. And I told Diane, I'm not the orange juice girl. I'm not really a fan of oranges. I hate to say it, unless they're in Auntie Sangria, which we haven't had in a while. I don't eat them, but I like the flavor. But Diane helps us always, and I appreciate it. The alarm phase reminds us, just do a self check, just like the title of today is Energy Check. And my body single this weekend, I had to look it up in a book that I'm about to send to Diane as a thank you. Um, our body's telling us something. Every message, just like the days you want to turn off the television, you want to turn off the radio, you're in the car and you need to really be conscious of what's going on. But the part of what Diane said, the alarm phase, the need for the adaptation, the need for the chronic adaptation phase, and the exhaustion phase. And I think, unfortunately, I don't realize until, from the human design perspective, until my root center says lights out, you need to sleep for a while, you need to shut off, change the alarms on your phone so there's no do not disturb, turn off the voice activation setting. I had to learn, just gotta, like Mike's song that we'll talk about at a title, I need to learn to stay in the sounds of silence and in the stillness lane. And I love that because that's what Diane is telling us. How do you hit a pause button?
Yeah, and Mel, sometimes those alarms are really loud, like they're blaring, like they can tell you this is something's going on. And sometimes those alarms are very, very quiet and very, very subtle. And if we don't actually take some time out to actually tell ourselves, we actually need to listen for the alarms before the alarms get louder and louder. And our ability to listen for those alarms just reminds me also just of our mental fitness journey, right? Our mental fitness journey tells us that periodically we just need to take time to be present in the moment. And by being present in the moment, being able to acknowledge just what's going on in our bodies and in our minds. And it also just reminds me then of, another coaching framework that I learned when I first started coaching that is very much in aligned with, sometimes we're in saboteur mode and we are not at our best selves. And sometimes we're in sage mode and we are in our best selves. And so when we can listen to our minds and ask ourselves, what is my mind telling me about where my emotional state of being is? And is my emotional state of being leading to draining my energy? Is my emotional state of being leading to building up my energy as well? And so in this particular framework, which we actually did cover in one of the community of practice meetings, it talks about the fact that we can be at 7 levels of energy as well. And if you're
Diane,
familiar
you
with them.
mentioned sage. You mentioned sage. Can
Yes.
you, for our listeners
Yeah,
who haven't had the chance to dial into any mental fitness or
sure,
positive
sure.
intelligence, can you help us slow
Yeah,
that down a
yeah,
little?
sure. Yeah, thank you. So, and Mel, just jump in here because I know you're just as well versed as at it as I am. So, yeah, when we're in our minds, we're either in a state of positive emotion and positive energy, where we are coming from our prefrontal cortex and our executive brain. We're coming from a place of a passion and love and gratitude instead of coming from our saboteur head, which is coming from a place where we've had an amygdala hijack. We go into fight, flight, fright, or appease mode. And so when we're not in saboteur mode, which is in that amygdala hijack mode and generating cortisol, we're actually in our executive brain, and that's when we're in our sage mode. And when we're in our sage mode, we can think about things with more clarity. We can engage our empathy. We can engage curiosity. We can explore. We can innovate, and we can really take action in a positive direction, coming from a place of calm versus anxiety.
Absolutely. Divine timing and no accidents. I think that's one of the challenges actually on the back end of Impossible Live. And I want to thank Mike for being part of the community that helped restore Impossible Live. I almost paused it. I realized, on a summer vacation with family, as I paused on Possible Live for a week, and then I decided the next week it was Labor Day. I actually took a 2 week break. In the 2 week break, I realized in a state of presence that I had missed the alarm phase that Diane talked about. And I appreciate Diane through the lens of just so many different ways we can look at stuff, and positive intelligence as opposed to emotional intelligence, which really my trust certifications are in that emotional intelligence lane. But I love that Mike is correctly sensing there's a gift coming. Mike, the gift is called Diane, and you introducing us today, reintroducing us to Curtis Brooks, who I haven't had the pleasure of speaking with directly, but who I've really enjoyed in Amalia Gardner's community and in other communities online. And Mike's telling us that Curtis Brooks is his brother from another mother. Mike, you're going to love it. Marie, who you met on Purple Thursday, is my sister from another mother. We have to continue that discussion sometime. I think the thing, too, as Jay is saying, and warm welcome, young Jedi. Thank you. Welcome back. Jay says when we find ourselves in distrust, then energy decreases. Jay, that's another one of your mic drops. Uh, and and possibly a good conversation for us to have when you join us for our live next spring. Because Jay, Diane, in our cultures of trust, creating cultures of trust was our first live stream together. For those of you who haven't had a chance to see Diane in action, and Diane said, "Whoa, ooh, Diane, you've got a new raving fan." Jay, we're going to come back to that. Mike is already thinking of a song for Diane. Whoa.
That sounds great.
Diane, I'm gonna shush and let you continue talking to Mike because Mike will start off this based on your words. But Jay, you mentioned energy decreasing, and I think that's one of the things that Diane's saying about the alarm phase. Something's happened that we may not perceive yet and that we haven't acknowledged. And I think the body singles, whether humidity or the high winds bring migraine auras, or I was sharing recently with team members and collaborators the challenge of shifting from creative to linear while supporting others, while on my health journey, when we're looking at self care or self exploration. But Diane, Jay's second part of his comment was about our energy becoming stronger. So I'm a shush and let Diane share more of her gems
Yeah.
about what happens after that exhaustion phase, Diane. Like, how do you get out of there?
Yeah, well, once we're in exhaustion, we're in burnout, right? And so I think there's different things. The one is to prevent us from getting there in the first place, and the one is when we are there, how do we actually dial back? And what has caused us to get there? And so sometimes what's causing us to get there is we're just physically on the go. We're not taking enough breaks. We're not resting enough. We just go, 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 go. I always used to say we go into this do mode, and before we know it, we're in do, right? And so just kind of making sure, it's excuse, it just sounds terrible, but we just keep on going, just we don't stop as well. And so so the thing is to stop ourselves from reaching there in the first place, and then stopping to ask us, what are my beliefs that are preventing me from listening to the signals? What are my beliefs that are making me keep on going in spite of the fact that I'm hearing the signals? And what are the beliefs that I might need to change so that I don't get there again? Basically, what do I need to undo about what I'm doing? So, for example, many people burn out at work because they believe that they got to keep on going. They don't have the ability to set boundaries around, this is all I can do in this amount of time, and so therefore I need to set my boundaries. And so then we have to challenge those beliefs about being able to set boundaries or not being able to set boundaries, and then giving people the communication tools by which to have the conversation about the boundaries that they're setting. So it's all kind of tied together in terms of there's both the inner work that we need to work on. Then once we are in a place where we know what we need to do, having the tools and the communication tools and the planning tools to be able to get out of burnout. So for me, for example, one of the tools that I use is going to trust the data. I have a work analysis, time analysis worksheet, and I have people just analyze where they're spending all of their time right now. And if they look at how much time they're spending, they can see why they're overcommitted on certain things, and they can see why they're working way more than they need to be working. And then we do where's your current time right now, and where would you like your time to be in the future, so you can manage your work-life balance and manage not getting burnout. And then having a conversation about what is it going to take for you to reduce the amount of hours you're spending at work? What is it going to take for you to increase the number of hours you are taking care of yourself? And just having that conversation around that. So going back from what is depleting your energy, and then what do you need to do to build your energy before it, so that it doesn't continue to get depleted as well.
I'd love to see that tool. And the reason why I smile, I think one of the reasons why I fell in love with this journey of trust and exploring trust shadows and trust barriers and how to create trust opportunities for family, for colleagues, for collaborators, for ideal future clients, for myself. I think I got caught in it because Yvette Bethel of Organizational Soul mentioned trust styles. And in the process of working on advanced trust facilitator certification, and I'm finally getting close. This week is the completion of the overhaul of the outline, because as Diane's saying, we can have tools, and I love learning about trust tools and sharing them with others. But what you just mentioned is a tool to help us with alignment. It's where a lot of us get stuck. And Jay and I have had a lot of conversations, and I appreciate it, around goals. And in some cases, whether having conversations across cultures, across genders, across generations, across identities. And I would like to add to that through the lens of Diane and I having met in a really inclusive community of belonging is we sometimes are surrounded by people like Jay with special abilities, unique ones. We all have them, just like Jay will tell you about Marvel superheroes. And I love talking to this young Jedi, but I think the energy part of creativity, of being linear, of trying to manage your roles, whether you're an employee, whether you're dreaming of, your new business, whether you're dreaming of your expanded business. And I love this. The universe is in love with our conversation because the sun just came out. So thank you, Diane, for bringing that out.
I wish I could take responsibility for the sun coming out.
I do believe you are. I do believe you
The
are.
conceptual sun.
Well, but it's also a movement from the acknowledgement of the exhaustion phase. I've been, all these high winds. It's an energy drain. From a health perspective, it makes me really conscious of a migraine aura, and I've been really lucky to have moved through a health journey to the point where I now can recognize the alarm phase of the migraine aura.
Mm.
I had a migraine while driving recently, and I when I started driving, that as an alarm, I was like, I hope to never have a migraine and be behind a wheel.
Mm-hmm.
I understand in the alarm phase, it means, honey, I can't drive today. Can you please drive? Can you please drive a little slower? Because just like I mentioned about Michael and our title, hey, any warm welcome. But just as I mentioned about titles, the energy part, if we don't correctly see it, we don't see those alarms, we're sometimes in danger of changing the genuine, our core, how we show up, how others perceive us. And if whether you're the employee, whether you're the emerging leader, whether you're the facilitator, whether you're the parent, whether you're the teacher, it changes our ability to, as Diane is saying, to kind of move through those phases. And Annie and Kimberly, when you're on team replay, Diane just shared some amazing phases of that we move through, and we warm welcome. My sister from another mother is on the other end of Meta. Warm welcome. And Jay says it best: overcoming disability has allowed him to put his trust and energy in himself. And Jay, that is, cause for celebration. There's so much happening. Diane, where do we go next?
Yeah, are we almost at time, Mel?
We're at time, probably in around 10 minutes, unless you need to
Okay,
leave
so
us
good.
sooner.
No, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, so I guess in terms of where to go next, I don't know if you want to, so just before we go on to the next topic, I just want to share in terms of going back to trust and trusting the data and listening to the data. You can tell someone, I'm so busy, I'm so overwhelmed. You can tell your manager, unless you can actually have the data to show this is the degree to which I'm overwhelmed. It's like you go to the doctor, you get a diagnosis, right? This is, you get the data, you get the facts. And so being able to actually put together information that you can look at so that you can figure out what's going on with your workload, or what's going on with your body, or what's going on with your mind is also really, really important. And that's why we just need to take that time to do that as well. Yeah, and then maybe we can go into kind of how do we know when we are mentally in a stage of burnout versus being able to energize ourselves, and maybe going back to those 7 levels that I had mentioned earlier on, if that works for you, Mel. I can talk about that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the concept is that at any one point in time, each of us is experiencing a certain level of energy in our minds. It's our attitude. What is the attitude that we're experiencing at a given point in time? And there's 2 levels of energy, level 1 and level 2, that just drain us, right? They're called catabolic. They drain us, they drain those around us. So level 1 is poor me. This always happens to me. Why me, right? Level 2 is, well, we're done feeling like we're out of control of the situation, so we fight back. So we start to blame people, blame others. And I love to use the traffic situation in this. So level 1 is you're sitting in traffic, and the journey is only meant to take 15 minutes, and now it's going to take an hour and a half because the traffic, right? So level 1 is, this always happens to me. Why does this always happen to me? So we think that we're uniquely flawed as well, right? Level 2 is, blaming ourselves. I should have woken up early. I should have checked the traffic report. I should have done this. Or I should have taken a different route. Or blaming others. Why are they doing roadworks now? Why is this happening? Or getting into road rage, or getting mad at the person who just cut you off, right? So we're experiencing that negative energy that is just burning us out as well. Then the other levels of energy, level 3 to level 7, are levels of energy that are more positive. So level 3 is just to accept. You know what? Accept that there's traffic. There's nothing I can do about it right now. And accepting doesn't mean I approve. It just means I accept it so that I don't go into negative emotions about this. And I can accept and process, okay, there's traffic. Yes, I could have gotten up earlier. Yes, I could have done all of those things, just coming from a place of blameless discernment versus guilt. And then just saying, okay, I am the traffic. Let me just accept that I'm in the traffic. So we just get to a more neutral kind of zone in our energy. Then level 4 is being of service to others. And so, I'm going to be sitting in the car for an hour and a half. Oh, how can I make this good for someone else? Oh, I haven't spoken to Mel in forever. If I call her now, we can have such a lovely conversation. It'll energize us both, right? So we look for, how can I serve the other person? The trouble is with burnout, for those of us who love to give, who love to serve others, when we give, and we don't set our boundaries, sometimes we give too much, and then we go down into, poor me. Why am I always giving? When's someone going to give to me? So we drop right down into level 1. Right? So to prevent us from dropping down from level 4 to level 1, we want to take a break at level 3, where we just want to do self-care. Level 3 is put your oxygen mask on first, take care of yourself, right? And so if I can put my oxygen mask on first, if I've been giving a lot, and I don't want to jump down into a low level of energy and get into burnout from giving too much, I need to put on my self-care energy mask on first. And then
What you're going to love, Diane, is when you catch this replay on Meta, which will only exist for the next month, or on LinkedIn, you will see all the hearts and the little light bulbs at the beautiful levels you're taking us to. So thank you for the journey and giving us a framework for it, because I think that's the hard part. And you mentioned it before. Excuse me. You mentioned it before when you were mentioning about alarm phase to exhaustion, and you're correlating it to the levels. And that alarm phase is going to increase as people continue to celebrate the holidays, sit in traffic, sit on hold for customer service, or the friends who were sitting in airports, collaborators who just put their honeymoon plans on hold because of the airline stuff, and they decided to take a road trip and just take it at a different pace. So I love your encouragement of, and it's reminding me of the frame from the phases you gave us before, that adaptation phase kind of really correlates to these beautiful levels. So for those of you who are just popping in or didn't catch the whole everything, Diane's giving us an amazing framework and something to listen to in the long rides on the cars. And I'll remember that over the holidays. Listen to Diane's audio.
Yeah. And Mel, I just want to say about the adaptation phase, it's not a good phase to be in. When we talk about burnout, there's the alarm, and then we adapt. We drink more caffeine. We work harder. We stay longer. We just adapt to the burnout, and then we get to exhaustion. And so we don't want to get to adaptation. Otherwise, we'll get to burnout. We actually want to scale back and listen to the alarms so we don't get to that burnout phase.
One of the invitations that I really appreciate this, and we'll have to add this to a discussion, is part of what's happening on my end is, as I'm out of the alarm phase and digging out of the exhaustion phase, is that look, just like in the beginning when I was mentioning about Yvette introducing me to trust styles, it caught my eye because I had a course and the first module was style. The style is like one of those 5 critical elements that I'm always talking about to create connections to scale and create collaborations to scale. The part that caught me as I was processing all the trust information and the data during this advanced trust facilitation project is to think of adaptive style as the key one. So, like in the style part, I think there are three styles to help us differentiate so we're not a commodity. One is our communication style, one is our gratitude or recognition style, and the third one that I'm doing a lot of work around and a lot of my trust facilitation and coaching around is around adaptive style. So when you're saying adaptive phase, it's triggering adaptive style for me, which is like change how change how we show up, change into what's genuine, as opposed to leaning into the disruptive adaptive phase.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, Diane, I appreciate you. Oh,
Yeah.
that was pretty deep.
Yeah. Thanks, Mel.
Thanks for a new lens. Always. I adore this woman.
I just love learning. I just love learning, and I just love learning from people from that know this stuff so well and study this inside out, and just being able to just share what I'm learning with everybody else. It's just such a privilege to do as well. Yeah.
And I did not mean to interrupt your levels, but I want to thank you. I think my brain, the learning, and I will really pay attention to it as I replay our session, is from the learning page to really absorb it. Sometimes I don't see it the first time. And I think that's what's popped up for me recently and in clients and with conversations. Many are not realizing the level of awareness or the level of stress until they're deep in the alarm phase. So I really want to thank you for that lens, especially as people are approaching holidays. They're looking at Black Friday sales, they're looking at what new events am I doing? But you are, and Mike is saying he's finding underlying resonance and he revels in it. We're much more connected than we think or imagine. What Diane's gonna love is he shared a link to your song in the chat.
Oh, okay. I guess I gotta.
Don't worry, we're gonna
Yeah.
play it and later and have a chance for you to really enjoy it. I know Mike said he was dreaming of a gift. This amazing man, just generosity and a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful, wonderful spirit. And he is saying he loves the energy levels you share, Diane. So let me not interrupt as Diane is
Sure.
getting back to recapping them. So Annie's got some great food for thought before his nocturnal evening in the UK.
Yeah. So let me just wrap them up. Then level 5 is just the win-win. So I'm in the car, I'm in this traffic. How can I make this a win-win situation for me and someone else? And so maybe we get the meeting done early and we don't have to do it later on this afternoon. We can do it while we're driving. Number 6 is, I'm in traffic. What a gift and opportunity. I get to listen to my favorite podcast. I get to unwind. And then level 7 is just like, what traffic? Just totally oblivious to the whole situation. As well. So yeah, I just wanted to share that there's those 7 levels 1 and 2 being more draining on our energy and burning us out mentally, and levels 3 where we're putting our oxygen mask on and doing some self-care, and level 4 through 7 where we're truly energizing ourselves and others
Mm,
as well.
that is truly, this is one of the reasons why, as we mentioned before and in the beginning was sharing Diane's newsletter, and as Kimberly Lechnick and I are having conversations about leadership, and Jay and I are hanging out in Angie Alexander's amazing Sage leadership community, or Annie is taking people through how to claim your power. I think one of the hardest parts about the energy levels are Annie has some of the most amazing energy I've ever seen. 4-hour live streams. And I appreciate him because on vacation, somebody reached out to me. Your solo live streams are 22 minutes. Annie's got a panel, a group of people, and sometimes his live streams are 4 hours. To maintain that level of energy throughout our days, throughout our nights, throughout the changes in roles, while as and in Diane saying, while we're sitting in traffic, or while we're preparing holiday meals, or sitting on a line on the mall. We went the other day to drop some goodies off to surprise a family member. And in the process, we were about to get on a really long line. And I'm delighted. My family member said, You're ordering something. Did you order the pickup?" And I said, "We're sitting in traffic, Diane. We've been on the road for an hour and a half. And now I'm anticipating an hour-long line, and oh, there's a pickup line." Now, from a customer service perspective, this is a dream. But as Diane is saying, the changes in communication with other people who aren't in our alarm, our adaptation, our chronic adaptation, or the exhaustion phase, they open up a whole new world. So I love that, because as I'm listening to your amazing replay, Diane, I'm going to go back and replay that and slow it down, because we think of, we sometimes enter a building or a lobby and we want to take the elevator or the stairs to go visit someone on a higher floor. And you're going to help me visualize that in the process of movement, and from the lens of Mike's In the Stillness that we're going to talk about on An Impossible Live, because it's another one of Mike LeBlanc's beautiful songs. The the lens is we forget how to slow down and how to move, as Diane's saying, through the phases, the levels. And I love it because Diane says adaptation phase. That's not a good thing. And I'm like, oh, adaptive style. That could be the secret to your secret sauce. But I love that. And Mike is saying that Annie's generous enough to tag his stage clients in. And Mike thinks he takes power naps when the guests share. Annie, is that how you're getting through these 4-hour live streams? We want to know. And there's a heart going up. So I don't know if the heart is we're discovering any secrets or Diane's helping us, but Diane is going to come back and join us for Impossible Live. And anyone who has not had a chance to check her out recently, check out Creating Cultures of Trust, which is our first live stream. And Diane, please share your wonderful newsletter and where to find it for those who haven't found you. And if you're looking at this on a replay or you're listening to it, Diane's website is dianechengcoaching.com. Tremendous, beautiful resources there.
Thanks, Mel. And you can find the link to the newsletter on the website as well. So as long as you have the website, everything will be there too.
That's fantastic. I'm having fun looking at the emojis that are popping up, and I hope Diane gets a chance to see them on the replays, because she'll know exactly what she said that delighted people. And for those who have not met Mike LeBlanc yet, and Diane, I'm going to put it here so we can look at it later, and
Yeah, and
we'll
thank you
share
so
this
much,
link.
Mike. Thank you so much for the song. I can't wait to hear it.
What I love is this gentleman is an amazing poet. He's another gift from the universe. I had the pleasure of meeting Mike, and I want to thank one of our Impossible Live, ooh, amazing, inspiring, wonderful Annie. He was on a live stream with Annie, and I had never had a chance to listen to Mike's voice. I had only engaged with him on chats of other people's audios or live, but I was having a really challenging week before Impossible Live, God only knows. And there was Mike LeBlanc on any show promoting the book Man in the Mirror. He writes songs to delight. And Diane, I can't wait. We'll listen to your song. But Diane, I cannot thank you enough for joining us today. And I know across time zones, I can talk to you forever. And I miss seeing you in the community of practice, but I'm delighted you returned to Impossible Live. I'm delighted you will return again. And I'd love to invite our guests, pop into dianechengcoaching.com, pop into her brilliant threads on LinkedIn and other platforms about trust, about energy. And we thank you for joining us today for Trust, Energy Check, and Body Signals.
Thanks so much, Mel, for having me.
Thank you, beautiful. We're wishing you all a happy or a peaceful day filled with blessings, opportunities, and possibilities. Please share your thoughts on Team Replay. Please share Diane's amazing resources with others that you know who can benefit. And thank you all for your tremendous, tremendous support. And Mike says, my pleasure, Diane. Take great care, everybody. We're well.
Thanks. Okay,
Thank
bye-bye.
you. Bye bye.
Bye.